Okay, look at your pet. Really look at them. The dog that paces the same path between the door and the window every single time you leave. The cat that licks the same patch of fur until the skin shows. The parrot that sits in its cage, pulling its own feathers out one by one while you watch television 3 feet away. You have probably called these things quirks, personality, just how they are. And I need you to understand something. They are not quirks. They are not personality. They are not how the animal just is. They are symptoms. Documented, scientifically named, extensively researched symptoms of what happens to an animal brain when it is placed in conditions it was never designed to survive in. And the conditions in question are not a zoo, not a factory farm, not a research laboratory. They are your living room. This is not a comfortable video, but it is an important one. In 1992, a wildlife filmmaker named Bill Travers walked through a zoo and watched a polar bear pace back and forth along its fence for hours. Not restlessly, not randomly. The same path, the same rhythm, the same turn at each end, over and over and over. He watched a giraffe lick the same metal bar with no apparent purpose. He watched an elephant sway its head left and right in a slow, repetitive arc that had no beginning and no end. He had spent years filming these animals in the wild. He knew exactly what they looked like when they were doing what they were supposed to be doing. This was not that. He coined the term zoochosis, a psychosis specific to animals in captivity, a deterioration of mental health made visible through behavior that has nowhere else to go. Dr. Georgia Mason at the University of Guelph then spent years studying these behaviors across species. Pacing, bar biting, head bobbing, feather plucking, swimming in circles, over-grooming, repetitive licking of surfaces that have nothing on them. Her conclusion was this: these behaviors do not exist in the wild. Not sometimes, not rarely, never. A wild polar bear does not pace. A wild parrot does not pull its feathers out. A wild elephant does not sway its head. These behaviors are created entirely by the conditions of living near us. And if you are already feeling defensive about your pet, I understand. Stay with me, because this is not about blame. It is about understanding something that the pet industry has a significant financial interest to make sure you never think too hard about. Here is the science underneath the behavior. Every animal brain is organized around a set of drives, behaviors that the animal is neurologically compelled to perform. An polar bear must range across large distances. An orca must travel and vocalize in complex social groups. A parrot must forage and interact and fly. These are not preferences, they are biological imperatives. The brain generates the drive, the body performs the behavior, the circuit completes. In captivity, the brain still generates the drive. The body cannot perform the behavior. The circuit fires, nothing happens. The circuit fires again, nothing happens. Over time, something changes in the basal ganglia, the region of the brain that organizes and sequences behavior. Dr. Mason's research found it becomes grooved into simplified repetitive loops. The animal gets, in her words, stuck in habitual routines it cannot stop, even when the original reason for the routine is gone. The polar bear is not pacing because it is anxious. The polar bear is hunting. There is no prey. The terrain is 20 feet of concrete, but the brain is running the hunting program anyway because it cannot turn it off. And the pacing path the bear wears into the ground, it mirrors the exact shape of a hunting route. Wild orcas travel up to 100 miles per day. They live in family groups that stay together for life. They have dialects. Different family groups use different calls that researchers can identify. They grieve. They teach. Their brains are, relative to body size, the second most complex on Earth after humans. In captivity, orcas float motionless at the surface for hours. They chew on concrete walls until their teeth are destroyed. They swim the same circle. The collapsed dorsal fin seen in almost every captive orca is not a genetic condition. It affects less than 1% of wild orcas. It affects nearly 100% of captive ones. A body designed to move 100 miles a day through open ocean, folding inward on itself in a concrete tank. The fin is what the tank does to the body. The swimming circle is what the tank does to the mind. 20 to 40% of domestic dogs are diagnosed with separation anxiety, not mild restlessness, clinical anxiety, uncontrollable vocalization, destructive behavior, self-harm, hours of distress that begins the moment you close the door and does not stop until you come back. Dogs evolved in social groups that were never apart. They were built for constant movement, constant contact, constant input. The modern dog spends 8 to 10 hours a day alone in a quiet apartment, and we call the resulting behavior a training problem. We call it a discipline issue. We treat it, medicate it, hire professionals to fix it. And almost nobody asks the more obvious question: what if the apartment is the problem? Here is what Zoochosis actually tells us. Every animal behavior we have labeled as a quirk, a personality trait, a training challenge, or a species-specific oddity is very often a symptom of a brain running programs that have no outlet. A polar bear hunting a fence line, a parrot dismantling itself feather by feather, a dog howling at a door that will not open for 8 hours, an orca reducing 100 miles of open ocean to a circle in a tank. Every one of these animals is doing the same thing, running the only program it knows, in the only space it has. We built an entire industry around keeping animals, breeding them, selling them, housing them, training them, a multi-billion-dollar industry that has very little financial interest in asking whether the animals inside it are okay. And the animals cannot file a complaint. They cannot explain what is wrong. They can only pace, and pluck, and circle, and wait. Which raises an uncomfortable question. If we have known about zoochosis since 1992, and the research has only gotten clearer since then, at what point does calling it a quirk stop being ignorance and start being a choice? If this video made you look at animals differently, subscribe. Every week we cover the stories that sit just outside what anyone is paying attention to. Leave a like if this one stayed with you. Until next time, stay curious.